3 months before the college entrance exam, I was reborn. I was also bound to a college entrance exam comeback system. At first, I thought it was a gift from heaven, until I discovered that every time a task was completed, Yan Jun's score would mysteriously increase. It turned out the system was secretly feeding my knowledge to him. And now it has popped up with the final prompt: after the college entrance exam, you'll become an idiot, and he'll take over your life. I laughed. Let's just see who ends up devouring who. I snapped my eyes open and found myself sitting in the classroom of Senior 3, Class 1. On the desk lay the math exam paper for the first mock test. Familiar questions. Familiar classroom. I could even smell the spicy strips a girl in the back row was secretly eating. I was reborn. I looked down at my own hands. My nails were neatly trimmed. There was no smell of hospital disinfectant. No pale memories of a hospital bed. In my previous life, I suddenly came down with a high fever and fell into a coma a month before the college entrance exam, missing the test. The rest of my life was a complete mess. And now I've somehow returned to 3 months before the college entrance exam. Lin Shen, what are you spacing out for? Have you finished the test paper? The math teacher tapped on my desk. I snapped back to attention and quickly lowered my head to answer the questions. Strangely, these problems were much simpler than I remembered. My thinking was unusually clear, and I could even predict the focus of the next question. Ding! The college entrance exam counterattack system has been bound. A cold, mechanical voice suddenly rang out in my mind. I froze, the tip of my pen pausing on the paper. Host Lin Shen. A strong willingness to learn has been detected. This system will help you succeed in your counterattack during the college entrance exam. Complete tasks to receive rewards such as quick memorization of knowledge points and problem-solving techniques. System, cheat code. My heart raced, and I almost laughed out loud. Is the heavens compensating me for the regrets of my past life? Today's task: complete a math practice test with an accuracy rate of over 90. Reward: analytic geometry, quick memory techniques. Without a word, I buried my head and wrote furiously. A test that would normally take 2 hours to complete, I finished in just 1 hour this time. I even checked it over once. Task complete. Rewards are being distributed. A warm current surged into my brain. I felt my understanding of geometry problems instantly become much clearer. However, just as I was overjoyed, a slight wave of dizziness washed over me. I frowned, not paying it much mind, probably just overthinking. Time to sleep. The system's reward was quite substantial. Quick memorization of key points, problem-solving techniques, and even the occasional ability to predict exam question types. My grades shot up like a rocket. In last week's mock exam, I jumped straight from 20th in the grade to the top 3. The homeroom teacher praised me by name during the class meeting. Lin Shen has made great progress recently. Keep it up. The whole class turned to look at me in unison. Some were envious, some surprised, some jealous. Yan Jun was sneering. He sat in the front row of the classroom and glanced back at me. There was a hint of contempt in his eyes. I frowned. The system issued a new task: complete a set of science comprehensive exam papers with an accuracy rate of over 95. Reward: full mark strategy for physics experiment questions. Without a second thought, I stayed up late doing practice problems. At 2 in the morning, I finished the last question. System prompt: task completed. Reward has been distributed. My brain feels as if it has been stuffed with a complete encyclopedia of physics formulas. The problem-solving patterns for all the experimental questions are crystal clear. But at the same time, a wave of intense fatigue washes over me. I didn't think much of it and just went straight to sleep. The next day in physics class, the teacher randomly picked someone to go up to the podium and do an experiment problem. Yan Jun, you're up. Yan Jun leisurely walked up to the podium, picking up the chalk almost without any pause. Swish, 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 writing down the solution steps. Exactly the same as what I wrote last night. Even the intermediate steps I deliberately skipped, he happened to skip as well. My fingers unconsciously tightened around the pen. Something was off. Too off. I deliberately made a few mistakes in the following system tasks. I even wrote the answer to a major question completely backward. The system didn't correct me. It just coldly prompted task completion 80, reward halved. The next day, there was an in-class physics quiz. I noticed Yan Jun got stuck on the last big question. He kept erasing and rewriting. In the end, he wrote down exactly the wrong answer I had deliberately put down last night. I stared at his back. A strange thought flashed through my mind. This system, it seems, is not my golden finger, but Yan Jun's. I began to observe Yan Jun. Every time the system released a task, he would coincidentally work on a similar set of problems the next day. Every time I finished a set of exam papers, he would suddenly have a breakthrough. Too much of a coincidence. No, this is no coincidence at all. The system is stealing my knowledge and feeding it to him. I decided to run an experiment. The system issued a new task, complete English reading comprehension special training, reward, high-frequency vocabulary quick memorization. While doing reading comprehension exercises, I deliberately made the answers I thought in my mind inconsistent with what I wrote down. Thinking about writing D, thinking C, but writing B. The system is completely unresponsive, still showing. Task completed, rewards being distributed. The next day in English class, the teacher reviewed the test papers. Yan Jun was called on to answer a reading comprehension question. He stood up confidently. Then he got all the questions I had deliberately written wrong. And his answers happened to be the exact wrong answers I had in mind. The whole class burst into laughter. His face flushed bright red, his fingers gripping the exam paper tightly. As for me, a chill ran down my back. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. System, I called out in my mind. Host, please speak. Who exactly developed you? This system is a college entrance exam comeback assistance tool designed to help the host improve their grades. Then why are Yan Jun's answers the same as mine? The system was silent for a few seconds. Host, this is a coincidence. I let out a cold laugh. Really? Host, emotional fluctuation detected. It is recommended to maintain focus and continue completing the task. It avoided the question. I rolled out of bed and turned on the computer. I searched for keywords such as brainwave transmission and consciousness theft. Got nothing. But I found some clues on Yan Jun's social media. 3 months ago, he posted a status update. This time it's in the bag. The accompanying image is a blurry photo of an electronic device resembling some kind of chip. I stared at the photo, my fingers trembling. I recognized at a glance that it was no ordinary chip. It was like something I had seen reported in the news in my past life. Ultimate brain signal source. I stared at Yan Jun's post for a long time, until the screen went dark on its own. The only light left in the room came from the desk lamp, shining on the pile of test papers on the table. The shadows stretched long. The system is stealing the knowledge from my mind. And Yan Jun is the thief. I take a deep breath and toss my phone aside. I pull a brand new notebook from the shelf and open it to the first page. Empty your me. Indie and force yourself to write down a few words. Counterattack plan. I can't directly expose the system. What if it has some twisted eliminate the host setting? Acting rashly would be suicide. I need to test its limits first. The next morning, the system issued tasks as usual. Today's task, complete the organic chemistry inference training with an accuracy rate of over 90. Reward, quick memorization techniques for organic reactions. I stared at this line of text and suddenly smiled. System. I asked in my mind, what happens if I don't complete the tasks? The system was silent for 2 seconds, then replied coldly, failure to complete the task will affect the final college entrance exam bonus. Please take it seriously, host. Oh, so there's no punishment. It didn't answer. I squeezed the pen, feeling more confident. At least for now, it couldn't do anything to me. I completed the chemistry topic as usual, but I deliberately tampered with the last major question. It was a complex organic synthesis problem, and the standard answer required 7 reaction steps. I only thought through 5 steps before giving my answer. Then, in the final step, I deliberately made a mistake in one chemical formula. The system noticed nothing. Still prompting, task completed, rewards being distributed. A sharp pain shot through my brain, as if something had been pulled out. The next day in chemistry class, the teacher still called on Yan Jun to answer the question. He stood up and fluently repeated the first 5 steps. Then he got stuck on the last step. Step 6. He frowned, his fingers unconsciously tapping the table. It should be. Oh. The whole class watched him in silence. The teacher adjusted his glasses. Yan Jun, your first few steps were written very well, but you made a mistake on the last step. That really shouldn't have happened. Yan Jun's face instantly flushed red. I lowered my head, pretending to take notes, with a slight smirk curling at the corner of my mouth. Step 1 of the plan, success. In the following days, I began to subconsciously train my hands and brain to work out of sync, until I could see a problem and write down the steps and answers without any need for thought. My retaliation escalated. In math problems, I deliberately omitted key formulas. This caused Yan Jun to make mistakes in his derivation during the in-class quiz. In my English essay, I slipped in a few self-made advanced vocabulary words. As a result, Yan Jun used the same words in the monthly exam. He was publicly criticized by the teacher for coining expressions. In the chemistry experiment, I even deduced the wrong reaction result. And Yan Jun, following my incorrect procedure in the lab, almost started a fire. Every time he embarrassed himself, I would coincidentally look up and meet his panicked gaze. Then he gave a faint smile. His expression shifted from confusion to doubt, and finally turned into fear. After school on Friday, I was called to the office by the homeroom teacher, Lin Shen. She handed me a report card. You've made great progress recently, but she hesitated. I looked down. Yan Jun's ranking had dropped out of the top 20 in the grade, while I remained firmly in the top 3. Yan Jun's parents reported that he's been in a bad state lately, always. Saying some strange things. The homeroom teacher lowered her voice. He said someone has been plagiarizing his knowledge. My heart skipped a beat. What? How is that possible? I looked up, feigning surprise. It's not like in a novel. The homeroom teacher shook her head. Maybe the pressure was too much. By the way, prepare well for next week's citywide joint exam. I nodded and turned to walk out of the office. Then, at the corner of the hallway, I was blocked by Yan Jun. His eyes were red, and his hair was a bit messy. The cuffs of his school uniform were stained with ink, completely losing the usual polished look. It was you, he said through gritted teeth. I blinked. What? Stop pretending. He suddenly grabbed my wrist, his nails almost digging into my flesh. My system. There's something wrong with my system. It's you, isn't it? You tampered with it. I stared at him for 2 seconds, then suddenly smiled. System, I said softly. What system? His expression instantly froze. I slowly withdrew my hand and leaned close to his ear. Yan Jun, you don't actually think that's your system, do you? His face instantly turned pale. I took a step back, savoring his expression, then turned and walked away. As I stepped out of the school gate, the system's voice suddenly exploded in my mind. Warning, host behavior abnormal. I stopped in my tracks. Detected host deliberately interfering with mission progress. Initiating correction protocol. A sharp pain suddenly pierced my temple, and I nearly collapsed to my knees. The moment before everything went black, I clung tightly to the wall. Gritting my teeth, I roared in my mind. If you dare to shock me, I'll drop out of school immediately. Let Yan Jun go to hell. The pain abruptly stopped. The system fell silent. I gasped for breath and slowly straightened up. It was afraid. In the evening, I sat at my desk, added a few more lines to the counterattack plan notebook. The system cannot directly control my actions, but it can inflict pain as punishment. It needs me to voluntarily complete the tasks. Otherwise, Yan Jun won't get the complete knowledge. He's afraid I'll go down fighting. I closed my notebook. I turned on the computer and searched for how to block signal interference in the brain. A bunch of irrelevant ads popped up on the page. But at the very bottom, there was a post from a niche forum, experimental study on the interference of electromagnetic waves with bioelectric signals with equipment building tutorial. I clicked on it. At 2 in the morning, I took apart the old radio at home. Following a tutorial, I assembled a crude electromagnetic jammer. The moment I plugged it in, it emitted a harsh, piercing noise. At the same time, warning, abnormal signal interference detected. The system's voice suddenly became intermittent. I yanked out the power cord. The noise disappeared, and the system returned to normal. Oh. It is recommended that the host maintain a regular schedule and avoid excessive fatigue. I stared at the small device in my hand and slowly smiled. Found your weakness. Monday morning, as soon as I entered the classroom, I felt something was off. A few classmates gathered together, whispering. As soon as they saw me come in, they immediately dispersed, their eyes filled with curiosity and suspicion. My deskmate, Zhang Xiaoyu, seemed to want to say something, but held back, and finally secretly slipped me a note. Someone said you cheated. I unfolded the note, then crumpled it into a ball with a blank expression. I looked up toward the front row. Yan Jun was turning around to look at me, a cold smirk curling at the corner of his mouth. During the break between classes, the homeroom teacher suddenly called me to the office. Lin Shen. She slid an anonymous tip-off letter across the table. Someone has reported that your recent academic improvement has been unusually rapid. I glanced at the letter, which was printed in typeface. Lin Shen always knows the exam questions in advance. It is recommended to investigate whether he is cheating. I looked up, teacher, what do you think? The homeroom teacher sighed. Of course, I don't believe it, but then let the joint exam prove the truth. I directly interrupted her. Doesn't the citywide joint exam take place next week? I'm not so amazing that I could get my hands on the exam papers for the citywide joint exam, am I? Besides, the exam rooms are under full surveillance, so I can prove my innocence. The homeroom teacher hesitated for a moment, finally nodded. All right, go back to class first. As I walked out of the office, I was stopped by Yan Jun at the corner of the stairs. Panicked, he crossed his arms, a hint of smugness in his eyes. You think breaking my system means you've won? Let me tell you, I have plenty of ways to ruin you. I stared at him for 2 seconds, then suddenly smiled. Yan Jun, you know what? The way you look right now. I leaned close to his ear. You're just like a corner dog. He shoved me away abruptly, his face turning pale. Just you wait. The rumors are getting more and more outrageous. By the afternoon, the story had already escalated to Lin Shen stole the monthly exam papers. Some classmates started pointing fingers at me. Even when I went to get water, I could hear people whispering behind my back. I heard his family has connections. No wonder he suddenly did so well on the exam. I returned to my seat expressionlessly, opened my book, and continued studying. Zhang Xiaoyu whispered to me, aren't you going to explain? No need. Without even looking up, I said, I'm not a vet, so I can't cure an animal. The words had barely left my mouth. With a sharp smack in the front row, Jun threw his pen onto the floor. When I got home that evening, the system suddenly flashed a red warning. Detected deterioration of host's living environment. Initiating emergency protocol. My heart skipped a beat. What does that mean? Ultimate task released early. Complete all knowledge transfer before the college entrance exam, or the host will be eliminated. My fingers dug sharply into my palm. Eliminated. Countdown. 30 days. Task progress. 45. The cold, mechanical voice had just faded. A sharp pain suddenly exploded from my temple, and I collapsed to my knees. Everything before my eyes turned blood red. The pain lasted a full 10 minutes before it stopped. I climbed to my feet, drenched in cold sweat. My reflection in the mirror was as pale as a ghost. It's for real. I stumbled and lunged toward the desk. I pulled out the electromagnetic jammer. The moment I plugged it in, static crackled. The system's voice immediately became intermittent. Warning, interference. But this time, the pain did not subside. Instead, it grew even more intense. I curled up on the ground in pain. My fingers clenched the jammer so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I had to think of another way. The next morning, I arrived at school with dark circles under my eyes. I found a large cheating written in red pen on my desk. The whole class was silently staring at me. I directly grabbed my school bag. With a loud bang, I slammed it on the desk. Who did this? No one spoke. Yan Jun slowly turned his head. What dared to do it but not dare to admit it? I stared at him and suddenly smiled. I said in his ear, in a voice only the two of us could hear, Yan Jun, do you know why your system hasn't been working well lately? His expression froze instantly. Because I deliberately raised my voice. What is stolen can never truly be yours. A collective gasp echoed through the classroom. Yan Jun abruptly stood up. What nonsense are you talking about? I haven't even said what was stolen yet. I tilted my head to look at him. Why are you so worked up? His face flushed red and then turned pale. Finally, under the eerie gaze of the entire class, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. During the lunch break, I sneaked into the school's computer lab, logged into a little-known campus forum. Posted using an anonymous account. Shocking. A top student from a certain class suspected of using high-tech cheating devices during exams. Actually able to. The content was vague and ambiguous. But the accompanying photo was one I secretly took of Yan Jun's drawer, revealing half of a strange metal device inside. Click send. During the first class in the afternoon, the dean of students suddenly appeared at the classroom door. Yan Jun, please come with me. The whole class erupted in murmurs. Yan Jun's face turned pale. Why? The dean remained expressionless. We have received a report and suspect you are carrying prohibited electronic devices. His gaze instinctively darted toward the drawer, then snapped back abruptly. I don't have any. Then please cooperate with the inspection. When the dean of students pulled that metal device out of his drawer, Yan Jun slumped directly into his seat. I lowered my head to hide the smile at the corner of my mouth. It was actually just a modified MP3 player. But it was enough to leave him without a word of defense. After school, a disciplinary notice was posted on the campus bulletin board. Yan Jun from Class 1, Grade 12, is given a warning for carrying prohibited electronic devices. The crowd buzzed with discussion as Yan Jun, with a cold expression, ran off. I stood in front of the bulletin board when the system's voice suddenly rang out. Interference source detected. Recalculating mission risk. Countdown correction. 25 days. I squinted. It seemed even it could feel fear. In the evening, I disassembled the electromagnetic jammer. I started modifying it according to the schematics I found online. If ordinary jamming doesn't work, then I'll increase the power. The notebook on the corner of the desk lay open, and the latest page read, Kill the system before it kills me. After Yan Jun's punishment was handed down, he didn't come to school for 3 days. On the 4th day during morning self-study, the classroom door was suddenly kicked open. He stood at the door, his school uniform wrinkled. His eyes were bloodshot, and he clutched a utility knife in his hand. The entire class fell silent instantly. The homeroom teacher stood up. Yan Jun, you. He ignored the teacher and walked straight up to me. He slammed the knife onto my desk with a sharp thud. Lin Shen, are you satisfied now? The blade glinted coldly in the morning light. I slowly looked up. What are you doing? Threatening me? He suddenly smiled and leaned close to my ear. You think that's the end? Let me tell you, my system has upgraded. The class bell rang, and Yan Jun returned to his seat. But that spine-chilling feeling lingered. I went to the restroom at noon, and as I pushed open the door, A bucket of ice water came crashing down from above. I stood there, completely soaked. From outside the door, I could hear the laughter of Yan Jun and his lackeys. Oh my God, did someone wet their pants? That stinks. I clenched my trembling hands and suddenly realized something even more terrifying. I couldn't move. Not out of anger, but literally. My body felt as if bound by invisible ropes, unable to lift even a fingertip. The system's mechanical voice exploded in my mind, detected that the host is facing a survival crisis. Activating force protection mode. What protection mode? I roared in my mind. Let me go. To prevent the host's impulsive behavior from causing mission failure, temporarily taking over motor nerve control. I watched helplessly as my own hands automatically wrung out the hem of my school uniform. Fixed my hair. Then calmly pushed the door open and walked out, as if nothing had happened. Yan Jun's smile froze. In the afternoon chemistry class, the teacher was demonstrating the heating reaction of organic compounds at the podium. My right hand suddenly raised uncontrollably. Lin Shen. Do you have a question? I heard my own mouth answer automatically. Teacher, I want to give it a try. That's not what I meant to say. The teacher readily agreed. I walked up to the podium like a puppet on strings. Take the copper wire. Then, from an angle unseen by everyone, my finger accidentally knocked over the alcohol lamp. The flame ignited the books on the test bench. Then it quickly shot up the classroom curtains. This burning speed is definitely abnormal. Fire. The whole class was in chaos, and I was being controlled by the system. Calmly, I was the first to rush out of the classroom. The fire alarm blared throughout the school. I hid in the stairwell, desperately struggling to regain control of my body. Are you crazy? This could kill someone. The system responded coldly. Priority is to ensure the host survives until the college entrance exam. All other variables can be ignored. Fuck you. I bit down hard on my tongue, the sharp pain briefly returning control to me. I immediately pulled out the modified electromagnetic jammer. Press the switch. Amid the crackling sound of electric currents, the system's voice began to stutter and break. Warning. Forced. My left hand suddenly grabbed my own throat. In the dizzying haze of oxygen deprivation, I desperately pushed the jammer's power to maximum with my right hand. Bang! The light tube above exploded, plunging the entire stairwell into darkness. The control was finally lifted. I collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air, my throat burning with pain. On my way home, I realized Yan Jun was following me. He glared at me from 20 meters away, his eyes venomous like a poisonous snake. I deliberately turned into an alley, waited for him to follow, then suddenly spun around, not had enough fun yet. He was startled, then let out a cold sneer. You think breaking my system means you've won? Let me tell you. Your system isn't broken at all. I interrupted him. It just switched hosts. His expression froze instantly. Take a guess, I said, shaking the jammer in my hand. Why haven't you been receiving the answers lately? Because. I leaned closer to his pale face. It realized that I'm more useful than you. That night, the system suddenly popped up an unprecedented notification. Host resistance detected. Initiating ultimate protocol. Option A. Continue cooperation. Unbind after the college entrance exam. Option B. Immediate termination. I stared at this line of text and suddenly smiled. Finally dropped the act. My finger hovered in the void, and without hesitation, I chose C. I smashed the electromagnetic jammer and removed the core component. Then he dragged an old microwave oven out from under the bed. He started modifying it according to the schematics found on the dark web. If the small jammer doesn't work, then he would build an electromagnetic pulse cannon capable of frying electronic chips. At 3 in the morning, I put on insulated gloves. I stuffed the modified equipment into my backpack. The system's voice became unusually urgent. Warning, high-risk weapon detected. Stop immediately. I ignored it and instead opened the voice recording function on my phone. System, what exactly are you? Not talking. Then let me guess. You're not an AI, you're some kind of bioelectric parasite, right? You need to survive off the host's brain nutrients. For the first time, the system's mechanical voice wavered. Host permission insufficient, unable to answer. Then I guessed right. I pressed the stop button on the recording. This recording has been set for scheduled sending. If I don't cancel it by tomorrow, it will automatically be sent to the email of the Institute of Biology, Chinese Academy of Sciences. The system's next sentence sent a chill down my spine. Smart? But you overlooked one thing. I can cause brain death right now. A searing pain struck like a tsunami. I curled up on the ground. Through blurred vision, I saw the indicator light of the electromagnetic cannon in my backpack start flashing wildly. The struggle just now had accidentally triggered the switch with the last of my strength. I grabbed the insulating cloth and wrapped it around the device. I lunged toward the window. Boom! An invisible electromagnetic pulse swept across the entire neighborhood. All the streetlights went out at the same time. In my mind, the system's voice sounded like a broken radio bus. Connecting. Then, utter silence. When the property management staff knocked on the door, I was hiding the charred remains of the equipment under the bed. Did your circuit just trip? The whole neighborhood lost power. I put on an innocent smile. Sorry, I might have accidentally caused an explosion while using the microwave, leading to a short circuit. Closing the door, my legs gave way, and I fell to my knees. Deep in my mind, the system's voice was faint but clear. You win. For now. But on the day of the college entrance exam, I will come back. On the third day after the electromagnetic pulse incident, the police came to the school. When the homeroom teacher called me to the meeting room, 2 uniformed police officers were sitting inside. An evidence bag was placed on the table. Inside were the fragments of my modified microwave. Lin Shen. The younger officer slid a photo across the table. Do you recognize this? The photo shows the trash bin downstairs from my apartment. Half of a charred circuit board is sticking out. Without changing my expression, I said, No, I don't. A resident reported seeing flames coming from your window that night. I was roasting sweet potatoes in the microwave. I blinked. Then the microwave accidentally exploded. The old police officer suddenly interjected. Do you have a grudge against Yan Jun? They had found out. As expected. I lowered my eyes. He previously spread rumors that I cheated. So this is revenge. Officer, I looked up. If I wanted revenge, why would I blow up my own stove? They exchanged a glance. In the end, due to a lack of direct evidence, the police only warned me not to misuse electrical appliances. But as I walked out of the meeting room, I saw Yan Jun at the end of the corridor. He held up his phone. A blurry video was playing on the screen. Footage from last night when I secretly tested the new jammer. Guess what happens if I hand this over to the police, he said softly. I stared at his phone for 2 seconds. Suddenly, I laughed. Guess why your system has been unusually quiet for the past 3 days? His fingers suddenly tightened. Because it's dying. I leaned close to his ear. And the one who killed it is you. You're talking nonsense. His face instantly turned pale. I turned and walked away, leaving him trembling with rage behind me. The system was indeed weakened, but not completely dead. During late-night review sessions, it suddenly popped up with a notification. Final ultimatum. Complete all transmissions before the college entrance exam. Otherwise, forced extraction of brain cells will be initiated. My pen paused. What does that mean? In simple terms, I will devour your memories, intelligence, and even your personality. You will be left with nothing but your body, and I will take your place. The hand holding my pen trembled slightly, but my voice remained steady. You will take my place. Just a defective product like you that can't even withstand electromagnetic interference. The system was silent for 2 seconds. Then, a hint of eerie amusement crept into its mechanical voice. You're wrong. I'm not negotiating with you. I'm informing you. A sharp, piercing pain suddenly shot through my temple. It felt as if someone had driven an ice pick deep into my skull. The mathematical formulas before me began to warp and dissolve, blurring into a patch of dark haze. It's extracting my memories. I bit down hard on the tip of my tongue, the taste of blood exploding in my mouth. The searing pain briefly snapped me back to clarity. Grabbing the compass from the table, I plunged it into the tiger's mouth of my left hand without a second thought. Hiss. Pain shot through my nerves like an electric current. The system's control was forcibly interrupted for a moment. I gasped for breath, staring at the beads of blood seeping from the back of my hand. Suddenly smiled. So you're afraid of pain. The system's voice wavered for the first time, meaningless resistance. Is that so? I grabbed a piece of scratch paper and quickly scribbled a few lines. 1. The system relies on the host's bioelectricity to survive. 2. Pain can temporarily disrupt its control. 3. It's panicking, which means the college entrance exam is the deadline. After writing this, I crumpled the paper into a ball and swallowed it right in front of the system. What? Never seen a madman before. I licked the paper scraps from the corner of my mouth. Either kill me now. Either watch me turn myself into the police tomorrow. You know, there's still half an electromagnetic cannon in my drawer that hasn't been destroyed. The system was silent for a full 10 seconds. Then it gave an unexpected response. If I can guarantee that Yan Jun will fail the college entrance exam, will you cooperate? I narrowed my eyes. What do you mean? He is merely a backup host. And you are the perfect creation. My blood instantly froze. It wasn't begging for mercy. It was trying to turn me against myself. The next day was the final week's pep rally before the college entrance exam. The principal spoke passionately on stage. 10 years of hard work, all for this one shot. I sat in the audience, quietly testing the newly made portable jammer. This time, it wasn't destructive, but precisely targeted. Like a scalpel, only cutting out the part of the signal parasitizing my brain. Yan Jun sat in the front row, constantly turning his head to look back at me. Since the system weakened, he became visibly restless. His fingernails were bitten down to the nub. As the meeting ended and the crowd surged outward, he suddenly grabbed my arm. Give me back the system. I shook him off. It's like a dying parasite now. Take it if you want. You just don't understand. His eyes were bloodshot. Without it, I wouldn't get into a top university. My dad would kill me. I was taken aback. I thought it would be some earth-shattering conspiracy. But I didn't expect it to be for this reason. The next second, he suddenly lowered his voice. But it's okay. I found a new way. Want to know? I'm not going to tell you. He hummed a tune and walked away, leaving me standing there. Suddenly, I realized something. Yan Jun seemed to no longer need the system. But the system still needs me. That night, the system launched its most insane retaliation. I had just lain down when suddenly my entire body convulsed. It began extracting my memories, childhood, school, formulas, and theorems, shattered into pieces by an invisible hand. I let out a scream and rolled off the bed. Struggling, I reached for the jammer on the desk. The moment I pressed the switch, the pain doubled. The system was resisting with all its might. My vision went dark, and my fingers dug into the floor. Before losing consciousness, I managed to reach my phone. Dialed 110. Help me. I screamed into the receiver. Someone is trying to kill me. Then it was plunged into complete darkness. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. A snow-white ceiling, with an 4 drip inserted into the back of my hand. Abnormal brainwave fluctuations, but the cause cannot be determined. The doctor said to the police, it might be overwork. The police took notes, but no one else had entered my room. In the end, the case had to be closed. Too exhausted from studying for the college entrance exam, I started having hallucinations. After they left, I reached under my pillow. The jammer was gone. It was already 3 days before the college entrance exam when I was discharged from the hospital. The first thing I did when I got home was smash my piggy bank. I bought all the materials and stayed up all night to make the final version of the jammer. It's only the size of a button and can be hidden inside a dental retainer. The system was unusually quiet this time, but I knew it was gathering its strength. The college entrance exam hall is the battlefield of destiny. On the morning of the first day of the exam, I put on my braces in front of the mirror. I pressed the start button. Amid the faint hum of electric current, the system finally bared its fangs. Final phase initiated. Knowledge transfer countdown. 9 hours. I spat out the blood in my mouth. The electric current just now had burned my gums, I laughed. What a coincidence. I prepared a surprise, too. Chinese exam hall. When I wrote the last word of my essay, the system suddenly screamed, "Anomaly detected. What did you write on the exam paper?" I looked at my essay with satisfaction. The entire piece was about the system's working principles and evidence of parasitism. Didn't see that coming, did you? I sneered inwardly. The college entrance exam papers are top-secret documents. Now at least 3 graders will see this experiment report. The system's voice began to glitch. Error. Forced extraction program initiated. The instant searing pain exploded. I bit down and shattered the jammer inside my mouthguard. Zazzup. The lights in the entire examination hall suddenly went out. Amid the startled cries of the proctors, I slumped in my seat, feeling something being forcibly ripped out of my brain. The power outage in the exam hall lasted a full 3 minutes. When the lights came back on, the invigilator, pale-faced, rushed over to me. "Are you all right, student?" I wiped away the blood from my nose and shook my head. My mind felt an unprecedented sense of ease. That parasitic-like pressure was completely gone. The system was truly gone. When I walked out of the exam hall, the school gate was already crowded with reporters. I heard a test taker reported high-tech cheating in their essay. Was that an electromagnetic pulse just now? I lowered my head and hurried through the crowd, only to be suddenly stopped by someone. It's Yan Jun. His face was pale, and his school uniform was wrinkled. "What did you do?" His voice trembled. My system is gone." I looked at him calmly, "because it was never yours to begin with." "You're lying." "That was my..." "Yan Jun," a sharp shout interrupted him. 2 police officers approached. "We received a report that you are suspected of stealing the college entrance exam questions. Please cooperate with the investigation." He stumbled backward, hitting the wall. "It wasn't me. The system gave them to me." The journalists' cameras instantly focused on him. That evening, the local news exploded. Shocking high-tech cheating case in college entrance exam. Suspect claims to be controlled by a system in the footage. Yan Jun was seen breaking down and shouting at the police station entrance. There really is a system. It chose me. Lin Shen took it away. I turned off the TV and opened my phone. The class group chat had already flooded with 99 messages. "WTF, is Yan Jun crazy? What does he mean by Lin has a system? Zhang Xiaoyu private messaged me. Are you okay? Do you need me to explain for you?" I replied, "No need, the truth will come out after the college entrance exam." Putting down my phone, I looked at the mirror on my desk. A faint blue light seemed to flash in my own pupils. The next day, before the math exam, the proctor specifically checked my stationery and braces. Routine procedure. He smiled awkwardly. I cooperatively opened my mouth, but in my heart, I was thinking about last night's discovery. In the cut dental wire, non-terrestrial metallic elements detected. This system is not human technology at all. When the math test paper was handed out, I habitually called out to the system in my mind. No response. But when I reached the 3rd major question, a translucent blue formula suddenly appeared before my eyes. "Don't panic. This is my last bit of energy." My pen paused abruptly, nearly tearing the exam paper. "It's still here. Just residual data. It will disappear in 5 minutes. Listen. Yan Jun is neither the first host nor will he be the last. Our civilization needs the smartest minds on Earth as its vessels." I dug my nails into my thigh to stay awake, scribbling quickly on the draft paper. "What exactly do you want?" The formula flickered for a moment. "Knowledge. Emotion. The DNA of civilization." You are special, so we let you go. But others won't be so lucky. The handwriting gradually faded, finally transforming into a set of coordinates. When the bell rang for the end of the exam, I was drenched in cold sweat. The invigilator collected my scratch paper. I stared intently at those coordinates. I had to remember them. But by the time I walked out of the exam hall, my memory was already starting to blur, as if something had deliberately erased it. I rushed into the restroom like a madman. Using the tip of a compass, I carved that string of numbers into the inside of my arm. Blood flowed into the sewer with the water, and those coordinates could never be washed away. On the last day of the college entrance exam, the whole school was buzzing with news about Yan Jun. I heard his dad works in the education bureau, and the exam prediction papers were stolen by his dad for him. The police found a lot of strange devices in his house. I was quietly organizing my stationery when I was suddenly called to the principal's office. Inside sat two men in suits, with badges that read Cybersecurity Bureau. Lin Shen, the older one, pushed a tablet over. Do you recognize this? The screen shows a surveillance video. In the classroom late at night, Yan Jun speaks to the air, then suddenly starts solving problems at an unnaturally fast pace. He claims to be controlled by a system, but we detected abnormal bioelectrical fluctuations in his body. He stares into my eyes. Coincidentally, your exam essay also mentioned a similar phenomenon. Cold sweat trickles down my back. I just read too much science fiction. They exchanged a glance, and the younger one suddenly asked, "What happened to the wound on your arm?" I instinctively covered my left arm. Stress from studying. Is that so? He handed over a satellite map. Then what about these coordinates? The numbers you carved match exactly with an abandoned lab where a collective disappearance of scientists occurred 3 years ago. My blood ran cold instantly. When I left the office, they gave me a business card. If you remember anything, feel free to contact us anytime. Also, the older one lowered his voice. Don't go anywhere alone. I walked back to the classroom holding the business card, only to find my classmates looking at me with strange expressions. Zhang Xiaoyu secretly slipped me a note. Yan Jun was just taken away, and he kept calling your name. For the last subject, English, I was distracted while taking the exam. Halfway through the listening playback, a sudden burst of static came through the earphones. Then followed Yan Jun's distorted voice. Lin Shen, save me. It's in my head. I yanked off the earphones abruptly, and the invigilator looked over with confusion. When I put it back on, there were only normal listening comprehension questions. But on my answer sheet, a line of small text had appeared at some point. You're next. When the bell signaling the end of the college entrance exam rang, the whole class cheered and threw their test papers into the air. I quietly packed my school bag. As I walked out of the school gate, two men in suits were standing across the street waiting for me. Then my phone vibrated, and an unknown number sent me a text message. Congratulations to the host for completing the college entrance exam mission. System upgrading. I looked up at the scorching sun, feeling a bone-chilling cold for the first time. The game is not over yet. The third day after the college entrance exam, I stood in the hospital corridor, looking at Yan Jun through the glass. He was curled up on the hospital bed, his eyes vacant. His lips kept muttering the same phrase over and over. They are coming. The doctor said his brain had been formatted like a computer. His language ability regressed to that of a 5-year-old, and he couldn't even remember his own name. I touched the wound on the inside of my left arm. Yan Jun's words sent a chill down my spine. My phone suddenly vibrated, and a strange text message popped up. Mr. Lin, we really appreciate your abilities. See you at the coordinates tomorrow at 8 p.m. in exchange for your mother's safety. My blood instantly froze. I rushed into the bedroom and pulled open the drawer. My mother's amulet lay quietly there. She said this morning she was going on a business trip to Hangzhou. The next evening, I stood outside the abandoned laboratory in the suburbs. The GPS showed that this was the final coordinate given by the system. On the crumbling concrete wall, Someone had painted a giant red arrow symbol pointing toward the underground garage. I gripped the electromagnetic gun in my pocket, the final version. Tonight, either end it all or die here. The third underground floor was cleaner than expected. Snow-white walls, glaring LED lights, and a whole wall of cultivation pods. Each pod contained a humanoid creature with a familiar metal chip embedded in the back of its neck. The pod closest to me suddenly lit up with a blue glow, and an electronic voice sounded, "Welcome, host no." 102, successful. I took 2 steps back, aiming the electromagnetic gun at the pod. Let my mother go. The man from the cafe stepped out of the shadows. His pupils glowed blue, and he was holding my mother's scarf. "Don't be nervous, Mr. Lin." He smiled. "We just want to make a deal with you." The deal was simple. I join them and become the new core of the system. They let my mother go and cure Yan Jun's dementia. I can get 1 discarded host as experimental material each year. The man handed over a tablet, the screen showing real-time surveillance. My mother was tied to a chair with a syringe suspended above her head. Time to consider, 60 seconds. He pressed the countdown. I stare at the numbers jumping and suddenly smiled. You know what? I slowly raised the electromagnetic gun. "You made a fatal mistake." The man raised an eyebrow. "Oh, you shouldn't have brought me here." I pulled the trigger. My target wasn't him, but the entire wall's power supply system. Boom! Amid the explosion, all the capsules burst simultaneously, blue liquid gushing out. The man screamed, trying to flee, but I grabbed him by the tie. "Tell your master I shoved the electromagnetic gun into his mouth if you ever touch my family again. I'll make sure they know what a real system crash means." By the time the police arrived, the underground lab had already burned to ruins. My mother was rescued from the warehouse next door. But that man, the chip on the back of the corpse's neck was missing. The case report read extremist group suicide attack. But I know the truth. They ran away. A month later, the university admission letter arrived at home. I tore up the offer from the Beijing school and chose a university in my own province. Before leaving, I want to see Yan Jun. He was stacking blocks in the rehab room when he suddenly tilted his head upon seeing me. "The system is broken." I set down a box of chocolates. "Yeah, it's broken." He clapped his hands happily. "Great, broken system." The nurse smiled and said it was the first time he had spoken a new word. On the day of university registration, I hid 2 things in the lining of my suitcase. An improved version of the electromagnetic gun. A list with 12 coordinates written on it. On the platform, my mom, her eyes red-rimmed, straightened my collar for me. "Call home when you get there." I hugged her, and as I turned around, I touched the scar on my left arm. The moment the train started moving, the window reflected in my pupils. A fleeting blue light